Okay, so we are in a new topic, and this is going to be the pre-recorded video for topic 2, section 1. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just vertex form. So topic 2 is all about quadratic functions and equations, and the first section is on vertex form, which we've already talked about. So topic 2, section 1 should be more of a review. So if we're looking at the vertex form, which is right here, this plus or minus, remember, is if it's negative, it's going to tell us that it reflects the x-axis. So reflect x-axis. And then the A, if you remember from the last chapter, was our dilation. So A was our dilation. It made it skinnier or wider. And then H moved it left or right. So translation, left or right. And it was opposite because of that negative inside of it. And then we had K, which moved it left or up and down, excuse me. So translation, up or down. Okay. And then the new thing that we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth this time is our vertex. So we briefly hit on it last chapter, but this time we're going to really focus on it and use it quite a bit. So our vertex is actually our H value and then K. So that's why this is called vertex form, because we can find our vertex right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do example 1. So example 1, it wants us to state the transformations, and then we'll go ahead and graph it as well just to see. So first we're just going to look left to right and state the transformations. So the negative there makes it reflect the x-axis. Okay, then the 1/2 would be our dilation, so dilated by 1/2. And then the next thing we see is that +2, and that's inside the parentheses, so that's our H, and it's +2, and remember it's opposite, so it's actually going left 2. And then there is nothing where that K value is, so that would be +0, which means it doesn't move up or down. And then we're going to go ahead and just state our vertex. So our vertex would be H, which is -2, because remember it's opposite. The H value is opposite of what you see in the equation. And then +0, so 0 there. And then to graph it, we are actually just going to go to -2, 0. So -2, 0 would be right here. And then we said it's reflecting the x-axis, so it's going down. And instead of going our normal, we're going to take all our y values and times them by 1/2, so we're going half of what we normally would. So normally we would go over 1, down 1, but we're actually just going to go over 1 and then 1/2 on both sides, because remember our U shape is symmetrical on both sides, meaning it's the same on both sides. And then the other point we would have would be over 2, and then 2 squared is 4 normally, so it would be right here normally. But again, we're cutting that in half, so it would be right here instead. And then we would just draw our U shape through those points. Sorry, let me try that again. Okay, and then the one thing I want to point out is there's also what we will be calling an axis of symmetry. And So that would be where you can cut this in half. So right here. So this would be your axis of symmetry, and I'm going to be writing it as AOS, and that is going to be right here where we cut it in half, and so that would be x equals -2. Okay, so again, that is your axis of symmetry where you cut the U shape in half, and so I wrote it out so that you can see it, but axis of symmetry, and we would just say x equals -2. So you can find it on the graph where you can cut it in half, or you can see it in your vertex. It's always going to be that x value of your vertex. Okay, go ahead and try this next one and then watch it. So I would pause the video, try the next one, and then watch for checking your answer. Okay, so again, we have a dilation of 2. We're moving right 1 and down 3. And then our vertex is opposite of the h value here, because again, we had a negative in the general form. Right here, there's a negative here. And so that is an actual +1 for our h value. And then our k is -3. So our vertex is 1, -3. And so we would go 1, -3 right here. And then we have a dilation of 2. So instead of going over 1, up 1, we're actually going to go over 1, up 2 on both sides. And then normally we would go 2 and then 4, but we're actually going to go 2 and then 8. And so that would be 2, 4, 6, 8 right here. And again, it's the same on both sides because we have our axis of symmetry. And then just draw the line, the U shape, as best as you can. And there's that one. Okay. So now below there's 2 more try it problems. So again, you should pause the video and try those ones and then check your answer. Okay, so go ahead and check your answers here. So we had reflect the x-axis, we're moving left 2, our vertex would be -2, 0, and then axis of symmetry is x equals -2, and we graphed it, and then same idea over here. We had right 1, up 2, and vertex 1, 2. Axis of symmetry would be x equals 1, and then we had our U shape. Okay, so now for example 2, we're just going to be identifying the key features. So we're going to be looking for the domain. So we're going to look for domain. We're going to look for range. We're going to look for the vertex, the axis of symmetry, and then we're also going to look at whether it has a maximum or minimum. So those are the key features we want. So I'm going to go ahead and start by just graphing it. So I'm going to look here and I'm going to look here and I'm going to see that I have a vertex of 3, -4. So 3, -4. So I'm going to start there. So 3, -4. And then, oh, sorry, that's a +4 down there. So 4. So 3, 4 up here. And then we have a dilation of 2 right here. So we're actually going to go over 1 up 2, and then we are off the graph, so we're just going to draw it there. Our axis of symmetry is where we can cut it in half, so right along here. So x equals 3. And then we would look at the graph for the domain and range. So when I'm looking at the domain, I would see that we have that it can be all real numbers. Sorry for the keyboard popping up again. So we have all real numbers for the domain, and so you can write it as all reals, or you can write it in interval notation where we go negative infinity to infinity. The range, we're looking at the y, and so it starts here, which is at 4, and it goes up, so y is greater than or equal to 4, or again in interval notation it would be 4 to infinity. And then whether it has a maximum or a minimum, you're looking at the vertex, and here is the lowest point, so it's a minimum. So again, this is the lowest point, so it's our minimum. Go ahead and pause and try the next one. Okay, so this one, you have domain, all reals, because again, we can plug in any x value here and get an answer. For the range, for the graph, we're looking, and the lowest point, or the highest point for the y values is actually -5, and then it goes on forever down. So y is less than or equal to -5, or again, you can do in parentheses negative infinity to -5. Our vertex we got from looking at the h and the k values. So again, the h is always opposite of what you see in the equation. So we have -4, -5. And so then our axis of symmetry is x equals -4. And then this is the highest point, so we have a maximum in this one. That's it for 2.1 day 1, and we will do the next section in the next video.